Hi, it's Jo from Minerva. Today I'm going to do a little bit more of the fitting tutorials that I've been working on with you guys, and I'm using the Figure Your Fit book, which is available on our website. So all the things that I show you today you can reference back to the layout diagrams and instructions in Figure Your Fit. Today we're going to have a look at the last of our shoulder adjustments. So we've looked at a sloping shoulder, a square shoulder, a narrow shoulder, a broad shoulder, and now we're going to look at sometimes if we make a bust adjustment or a back adjustment, we move this shoulder line, and we're going to see how we can make sure that we keep that in the right place. I'm going to head over to the cutting table and show you the pattern pieces flat, and then I can bring it over to the mannequin and show you what happens when we make alterations and how it changes the shoulder seam. So here I've got the front and back of a bodice piece, and I'm going to cut it out. And when I join the shoulder seams, I'm going to use the 1.5 seam allowance. So put our 1.5 seam allowance on and pin our shoulder seam. I use glass head pins for when I'm sewing my fabric so that I can press it in places and the heads won't melt. But when I'm making alterations with a paper, I use dressmaking pins because then I can try it on without very long pins poking into my body. So I'm going to pin the shoulder seam, I'm going to pin the side seam at the 1.5 seam allowance and try my paper piece on. I'm showing you on paper because it's easier for you to see it, but when you're making a tissue fit bodice to try on, it's better with a Swedish pattern tracing paper because it's more pliable. I'm now going to go and fit it on the mannequin and show you on my own shoulder seam how I might need to move this shoulder forwards or backwards to make sure that that seam is running right along my shoulder. The first place to fit for a shoulder is your back first, so you need to make sure that your centre line of your back is running down the centre of your own back, and then you'll see what's happening at the front. So you're aiming for this to be on your centre line, but you can see it's kicking out. So I can let out the side seam so that this now comes straight. And we can see how this affects the shoulder. So we might need to make a sloping shoulder adjustment, which would take that gape out. So we've got a gape here, so we might change a sloping shoulder, which is what the mannequin is displaying. So once we make that angle slope down, we can take out some of this. But as we move that, we might start to move it away from this centre line. If you've got a round back, and people who work on computers sometimes have a round back, you might need to take your shoulder forward and pin, and then you'll have some spare here. If you've got a full bust, then you might need to take it the other way. There we go, neckline's flat again now. And then we would have some spare here. So what you're aiming for either way, whatever all of your other alterations have indicated. We're aiming to get the shoulder seam to be in the centre of our arm. There's some other alterations to make here with the side and the bust, but we're looking for our shoulder seam to be on the shoulder. It's important if you're putting the sleeve head in, because if your shoulder is in the wrong place, you'll get a twisted head on your sleeve, so you'll get wrinkles around the back of your arm, or you might get wrinkles on the front if your arm is twisted to the front. So that's what you're looking for when you're trying to find out if you need to do a forward shoulder adjustment. If I show you on my body, this hasn't got a setting sleeve, this has got a grown on sleeve, but I want this line here to run straight down my arm. If I've got a rounded back, then my shoulder seam might slip forward. If I've got a fuller bust, then my shoulder seam might slip back. So we need to pinch that shoulder seam so that you get it straight on your shoulder, from your neck to your shoulder point. If you have an account with us, don't forget to post your makes on our website, and we can all read the alterations that you made and how you made a successful garment. Thank you very much for watching. See you again soon.